This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the City of Warrenville City Council regular meeting. It is Monday, June 7th, 2021, and the time is 7 p.m. To reduce the background noise that may be preventing people from being able to hear the discussion, the city will mute all participants during the meeting except for the elected officials. All participants will be unmuted for the public comment portion of the meeting. Clerk, could you please take a roll call, please?
Alderman Anderson.
Here.
Alderman Ashour.
Here.
Alderman Berry.
Here.
Alderman Davalos.
Here.
Alderman Goodman.
Here.
Alderman Christian.
Here.
Alderman Widener. Alderman Widener.
Alderman Widener, I don't think you're, I think you're muted. We're not hearing you.
I count that as a yes.
Alderman Widener, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Now we can. Thank you.
Okay. I had my audio on my computer is not working tonight, so I'm phoning in and using the camera for the visual.
Well, at least we can see your handsome face. Thank you.
Alderman Wilson.
Here.
City Clerk Clark here. City Attorney Brooke Linneman.
Here.
City Administrator John Coakley.
Here.
Assistant City Administrator Christina White.
Here.
Here.
Finance Director Kevin Dahlstrand.
Here.
Community and Economic Development Director Ron Menzer.
Here.
Public Works Director Phil Kukler.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. The next on the agenda is the appointment of a temporary chairman. Alderman Goodman, you have your hand raised?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Alderman Berry as the temporary chairman for tonight's city council meeting.
Second, Alderman Davalos.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Goodman and a second by Alderman Davalos. Clerk, can you please read the roll?
Alderman Goodman.
Aye.
Alderman Anderson.
Aye.
Alderman Widener.
Aye.
Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Alderman Christian.
Aye.
Alderman Ashour.
Aye.
Alderman Davalos.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you very much. Oh, you're supposed to call me in the roll. Okay.
Alderman Berry.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, now the motion passes. Thank you very much. Now on to the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would please say it to yourselves. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, on to citizens' comments. We will now hear any verbal or written comments from the public. Anyone from the public wishing to speak, please announce yourself with your name and address. Please speak slowly and clearly so we can capture your information. Once we have everyone wishing to speak, I can call on you one by one to proceed with your comments. The email comments will be read following the verbal comments. Right now, I know, do we have anyone on the line wishing to make comment? Okay, hearing no one, we do have someone who is at City Hall this evening. Mr. Bob Siebert.
Bob Siebert, Albright Court. I have here a plan, a final landscape plan that was given out at the public hearing for the Sundance Townhomes development on Ferry Road. There are a few major errors, concerns in this. The first item here, it states on the first page that the planting list and quantities are on page 3. When we go to page 3, we see the plants, the sizes, the notes, but the quantity column has no numbers in it. The total on this page 3 with the plant schedule and list, there are no quantities for the plants. Also to the left side is a code, and this is a two letters code identifying the particular plants. This generally would then be on the preceding pages, identifying the location as to the plants as where they will be planted. However, in the preceding pages, there are no identification of the plants where the new townhomes would be. Of the plants, there are only circles without quantities, identifications, and they're not according to scale. In a plan, they would be according to scale. It would be according to the space that would be between plants. The spacing that they identify on the plant schedule for some of the deciduous plants, green velvet boxwood, they have spaced 2 feet on center. These plants will grow 3 to 4 foot, double the space that they're giving them. In all of the situations, the plants are generally the majority 4 to 6, and they have 3 foot on center. So the planting and identification of these is not according to what they're showing on centers, planting on centers. If the previous pages were according to scale with the numbers and identified, you would be able to take a scale and actually identify these plants. On the plan notes, I'm on plan number 5. It states the contractor shall apply all plant material in quantities sufficient to complete the planting shown on the drawing. Plant material quantities shown on the plan take precedence to those on the plant list. However, they show no quantities on either the plant list or the drawings, as I just stated. So basically, the plan that was submitted is not according to the standards of the landscape architectural for construction and the requirements of a landscape plan. And stating on this that it's the final plan, I've never seen a final plan, landscape plan, before there is a final engineering plan. Without the correct quantities and locations of the plants, I don't understand how the city of Warrenville can evaluate this proposal.
Thank you. Now for email comments, we have actually had no email comments received at City Hall. So once we are now concluding the citizens' comments. At this point, there will be no further opportunity for the public to make a comment. Oh, excuse me. Yes, sir?
I'm here about annexation. I don't know if you or I should talk.
Yes, you should speak now. So please go to the podium. When you're done, we're going to have you fill out a form with your name and some other information. But if you would state your name and your address and
Michael Moran,
then your comment.
29 West 609 Butterfield Road, asking to annex into the city and hook up to the city sewer on Butterfield Road there.
Okay,
That's it.
that's good enough.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
just make sure that the clerk has your information so
Yeah.
that we can get that into the minutes.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay. Now on to official and staff comments. As the mayor pro tem at the moment, I have no comments. The clerk is distracted at the moment. We'll go to, well, actually, clerk, do you have any comments this evening?
I do not.
Okay. Treasurer, but we do not have a treasurer. Okay. The alderman, I'll call on each alderman individually for comment. Alderman Anderson,
I have no comments this evening. Thank you.
thank you. Alderman Ashour,
No comments, thank you.
thank you. Alderman Davalos,
No comments tonight, thanks.
thank you. Alderman Goodman,
Nothing from me.
thank you. Alderman Krischel,
No comments tonight, thank you.
thank you. Alderman Widener,
I have no comments. Thank you.
thank you. And Alderman Wilson,
No comments, thank you very much.
thank you. Now for the city administrator, Mr. Pokley.
Thank you. Two quick things. Anytime the next few weeks, we expect that the governor's exemption to the Open Meetings Act will end. Under the current emergency declaration by the governor, there is a provision that allows an exemption to the Open Meetings Act. That is how we do the meeting the way we're doing it with all of you, except for the mayor or the chair of the meeting out of the actual council chamber. Once that ends, we suspect now, based on some information today, it might be the end of June, but I don't have that in writing yet. Then the council will be required to be back in person, or the majority of the council will be required back in person to hold a meeting. Just as another reminder related to that, some years ago, the council adopted a policy for electronic attendance at meetings, which is still in effect and would still be in effect after this Open Meetings Act exemption ends. So if someone is, but you must be traveling for business, or if someone is ill and cannot make the meeting, there's a process. We're going to dust off that policy and get it out to everyone. There's a form that needs to be filled out and submitted to the city clerk in advance of the meeting to let us know you'd be doing that, and then you could remotely connect. But the majority of the council to actually hold a legal proper meeting at that point in the future will have to be in person. It would be could be a couple of aldermen or perhaps the mayor that was traveling or ill that day. So we'll get more on that, but I want to make sure everybody's thinking of that, because the way things have been going with changes, it's possible we'll find out late on a Friday. I don't see that coming in the next week, but we will make sure everybody's aware of it if we have to call all of you to let you know when that does change. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. City Attorney Brooke Lunneman, you have any comments?
No comment, except to say that we're monitoring the governor's communications on that topic, and we'll try and get as much advance notice as possible. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. All right, on to the approval of the agenda. Alderman Widener, would you like to bring that forward?
Yeah. Yes, I move to approve the agenda for the June 7th, 2021 City Council regular meeting.
Alderman Davalos, second.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Widener and a second by Alderman Davalos. Clerk, to read the roll call, please.
Alderman Wilson?
No, hang on.
Aye.
No,
Okay, wait a minute, one
Sorry.
moment, please. Yes, Alderman Goodman, I'm sorry.
Yes, I would like to remove item 6D.
Sorry, 6D is in David.
That's right.
Is there anything
Motioner
else?
agrees.
Motioner agrees. Second?
Seconder agrees.
Okay, they both agree. Okay. Now clerk.
Alderman Wilson,
Aye.
Alderman Davalos,
Aye.
Alderman Berry,
Aye.
Alderman Chrisell,
Aye.
Alderman Goodman,
Aye.
Alderman Anderson,
Aye.
Alderman Widener,
Aye.
Alderman Ashour.
Aye.
Okay. The agenda is approved with the exception of 6D. Now on to the approval of the minutes. Before I have Alderman Widener do that, Clerk Clark has a minor correction that she would like to tell us about.
Okay, if you can go on to your minutes, page 6 of 8, the very bottom, last two sentences under the discussion.
Okay, this is under May 17th City Council regular meeting, correct?
Yes, correct, yes.
Okay.
Oh, the last two lines, if you can remove the word "the" from the second to last line and put a line through "that are collecting the taxes," put a line through that.
Okay,
Would you like me to read that sentence so that you know how it reads?
that might be good.
Okay, so that sentence will now read, Alderman Goodman stated this was something the state did to try to balance the state budget, comma, but it is taking away funds from municipalities, comma, thus decreasing services that can be provided, period.
Okay. All right. So that's the only correction that you have. Okay. Then Alderman Widener, would you like to make the motion?
Certainly. With the corrections added to the minutes, I move to approve the minutes of the May 17th, 2021 City Council regular meeting. Approve the minutes of the May 17th, 2021 City Council closed session number 1. Approve the minutes of the May 17th, 2021 City Council closed session meeting number 2. And to approve the minutes of the May 24th, 2021 Public Safety and Finance Committee meeting.
Second, Alderman Davalos.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Widener, a second by Alderman Davalos. Clerk, could you please read the roll?
Certainly. Alderman Anderson,
Aye.
Alderman Chrisell,
Aye.
Alderman Davalos,
Aye.
Alderman Widener,
Aye.
Alderman Ashour,
Aye.
Alderman Wilson,
I recluse myself from the approval of the minutes of the May 24th, 2021 Public Safety and Finance Committee meeting since I was not at that meeting. Otherwise, I approve.
Alderman Berry,
Aye.
Alderman Goodman.
Aye.
Okay. Do you have that information, Clerk Clark? Thank you. Okay, the minutes are approved. Now on to the consent agenda. Number A, please, accept Public Safety and Finance Committee recommendation, waive second reading and pass ordinance 02021-20, authorizing the disposal of city-owned property through an auction conducted by propertyroom.com. B, accept staff recommendation, waive second reading, and pass ordinance 02021-21, annexing certain territory to the city located at 29W 609 Butterfield Road. C, accept Public Safety and Finance Committee recommendation and pass resolution R2021-37, approving the renewal agreement for the city prosecutor services with attorney Christine Sharkowitz for the period of June 1, 2021 through May 31, 2022. E is E, accept Public Safety and Finance Committee recommendation and pass resolution R 2021-39, approving an amendment to the agreement with AVI Systems for the purchase and installation of audio video conferencing upgrades to the City Council chambers in an amount not to exceed $31,184. F, accept Mayor Brummel's recommendation and pass resolution R 2021-40, extending the duration of the March 16th, 2020 declaration of emergency until the adjournment of the next regular, special, or emergency meeting of the City Council. G, accept staff recommendation and pass resolution R 2021-41, approving a 3-year collective bargaining agreement with IBEW Local Union 701. H, accept Senior Civil Engineer Hocking's recommendation and pass resolution R 2021-42, approving the reduction of the public improvements cash bond security for the Compass School project and placing the project into a 2-year maintenance period. I, accept Public Safety and Finance Committee recommendation and approve the revised community electronic sign policy. J, accept staff recommendation and approve revisions to the Administrator's Authority policy to adjust wage and vacation benefits. K, receive and file minutes of the Environmental Advisory Commission meeting held on January 19th, 2021. L, receive and file minutes of the Environmental Advisory Commission meeting held on February 2nd, 2021. M, receive and file minutes of the Environmental Advisory Commission meeting held on April 20th, 2021. N, receive and file minutes of the Plan Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals meeting held on May 20th, 2021. O, receive and file report of invoices paid up to May 26th, 2021 in the amount of $161,052.75. P, authorize expenditures for invoices due on or before June 21, 2021 in the amount of $92,132.59. Can I have a motion, please?
Alderman Widener moves to approve the agenda as presented by Mayor Pro Tem Claire Berry.
Second, Alderman Wilson.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Clerk, would you please read the roll?
Certainly. Alderman Widener,
Aye.
Alderman Ashour,
Aye.
Alderman Anderson,
Aye.
Alderman Berry,
Aye.
Alderman Davalos,
Aye.
Alderman Krischel,
Aye.
Alderman Goodman,
Aye.
Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Did you skip me? Oh, did I say aye? Okay. 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 Now we will go back to item D. Alderman Goodman, did you want to bring that forward?
Yes, I make a motion to accept Public Safety and Finance Committee recommendation and pass resolution R 2021-38, approving the purchase of 2 Ford Explorer Police Squad vehicles through Suburban Purchasing Cooperative Contract Number 152 at a cost not to exceed $66,612.
Second, Alderman Davalos.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Alderman Goodman,
Yes.
would you like to have a discussion?
Thank you. A few minutes ago during dinner, I reviewed the email from the chief on this item, and I've done my own research on it too. The only difference between the standard vehicle and the downgraded vehicle that the chief described is that having a bigger battery means that the hybrid standard version allows for greatly improved fuel efficiency and better acceleration overall. The small difference in cost will probably be made up for with the money saved on fuel, but even if it isn't, we try to be green here. So I would move to amend the motion to change to the standard hybrid vehicles.
Okay. Chief Tarano, did you have a comment to make? Anything else?
I think we have a motion,
yeah.
so you need a second.
Oh, I need a
Do we
second.
need a
for-
second?
Yes.
Okay.
Alderman Widener seconds.
Okay. So we have the motion by Alderman Goodman. Now discussion. And the second by Alderman Widener. Now the discussion. Okay. Chief Tarano, did you have any comments to make also on your research that you found?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I did send out a survey, and I put that in an email, or excuse me, a memo, which was sent out as an email attachment today to the elected officials, the senior staff, and the administrator. Essentially, when looking into this, the internal combustion engine would be $33,306 per unit, and they claim 19 miles per gallon fuel economy. The hybrid model is 3,165 more, 3,165 more, and that is due to the cost of the hybrid engine, which contains a self-charging lithium-ion battery, which is supposed to last for the service life of the vehicle, which Ford said could be between 100 to 150,000 miles. Additionally, they claim that the internal combustion engine, through their research, would use 1,176 gallons of fuel annually versus 833 gallons of fuel used by the hybrid model. That would result in a savings of 343 gallons of fuel that they predict, again, based on their extrapolations. So I did do a survey, and of the departments that we surveyed, Batavia and St. Charles have no hybrids in their fleet. Aurora, Carroll Stream, Geneva, Lisle, Glen Ellen, and West Chicago did not respond to our survey. I was able, after I had put this memo together and sent it out, to speak with a Lieutenant Van Dillenkoffer, who is the fleet manager of the Wheaton Police Department. And one thing, he had sent me an email, and the second paragraph, there's an error here. In his email, he said they currently had 5 hybrid vehicles. They one in service and 6 more to be delivered on June 14th. He said they've been reliable. The one that they have, that there's no problem that they've seen with it. They haven't experienced any maintenance issues. The only thing that he did say that was different was that the acceleration in a hybrid vehicle is different than an internal combustion, that if you step on the accelerator, you don't get that immediate response of the car moving forward. That there's a slight pause, which again, I think is something that you would get used to. And in today's environment, we're really not that concerned about the speed. But I feel good with the fact that if Wheaton had one and had been using it for the last 5 to 6 months and are satisfied with it. I did specifically inquire if there were any issues with cold weather as far as the vehicle starting, and since those vehicles will be parked outside and they can be very bitter temperatures in our winters. And he said no, they did not have any problems with them. So I feel confident in that. The only thing that I would recommend, if we want to be on the cautious side, which I tend to be, I'm not a big car person. I have never driven a hybrid vehicle, so I can't give you any personal experience. But to be on the cautious side, I would say if we ordered one, tested it, see how we liked it, what the service was like on it, if we noted that there were any problems, and then I would be all for going to that in the future. However, if the council decides that they're confident, I'm sure we could make it work. And if there's any problems with the 2 that we would order, we would certainly find out sooner than later. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll go through each alderman for comments and questions at this time. Alderman Anderson?
So I'm not a huge fan of going against staff recommendation. So I think, Chief, it'll help me to understand which way you're recommending right now. I think, because the memo said that you were still recommending that we hold, but that we look to do one in the future is how I interpreted that. Or if what you're saying is we need 2 cars right now, you're recommending 1 hybrid, 1 not hybrid. Is that correct?
That's correct, Alderman. Yeah, that's correct. And that's just, I'm just kind of cautious by nature, and I guess I'd rather err on the side of caution.
Yep. I do think there's some wisdom there. I drove a hybrid for a long time. I don't think we're going to have some fundamental challenges with hybrids, but I think our maintenance folks have to learn them, and I think our team needs to learn them. And so I think I could support the one versus the other. It's going to last 100,000 miles. I'm sure we don't drive any of our cars that long within the fleet. We sell them off well before then. But if this mileage savings is true, it pays for the gap. The 3,000 pays for itself in a couple of years. And so, I think financially it's not a huge issue one way or the other. So right now I would lean towards accepting the staff recommendation of doing 1. Now I'm sure we'll be rotating our fleet, and then we could continue to build it out as we gain experience and we understand it. All I have.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Ashour?
I support staff recommendation of purchasing 1. It'll give us a good comparison between the 2 vehicles of what resale at auction is. I mean, if I'm understanding what has been talked about, they project the useful life of the vehicle being almost over as far as the batteries are concerned by about the time we would be trading it in, around 100,000 miles. Is that correct?
Yes, Alderman. And just a point of clarification on this too, we do not do any in-house maintenance on the vehicles. All of our maintenance would be outsourced to either local oil change repair businesses in Warrenville or to a Ford dealership. And you're correct, Alderman Ashour, that they're saying, and again, this is Ford's information, that battery should last between 100 to 150,000 miles.
Anyway, the point would give us a good comparison, because we don't know what the resale will be when it comes time to trade in, and how much value will be allowed on the hybrid versus the internal combustion engine. So I support the recommendation of 1 of the 2 being a hybrid.
Okay, thank you. I myself would actually prefer if we do purchase 2 of the hybrid vehicles. I think that having only 1 doesn't give everyone in the department the ability to be able to drive the vehicles if there's only 1. I know they do rotate the vehicles. I think it would be easier if we had 2 at this time, so that everyone would have the opportunity, that one vehicle wasn't getting maybe more mileage than normal because maybe people wanted to drive it. But I think we just need to be eco-friendly. I think that's more important. I've never driven a hybrid vehicle, but I know that's pretty much the way of the future, and also the complete battery operated car is going to be the wave of the future too. So I think if we're going to go into it, we might as well step into it. So that's my comment. Alderman Davalos?
Yes, I'm very glad the chief suggested this. I was going to make a motion that we at least get 1. So this is wonderful that came from somebody else on staff. I was impressed that the acceleration in the information we got last week is better in these hybrid cars, which I'm just thinking if I was a police officer, I might appreciate that. But and the other thing is, I like this idea. Wheaton bought 1 so they could check it out. And I like the idea of our officers on our force with their responsibilities being the one to check it out, and we get feedback from them. You know, obviously Wheaton likes this or they wouldn't have ordered 6 more, but I guess I would like to have some of that information come from our officers. So I would go either way. I mean, I could vote for 1 just to check it out, or I mean, I think we'll be buying more. So if Alderman Berry is, you know, there is something to be said for more people trying them out. But to be honest, I could go either way, but I think we should at least get 1. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Chrisell, or excuse me, I'm sorry. Alderman Goodman again. Do you have another comment?
Well, just to follow up on what's been said, I agree with Alderman Berry. I think having 2 gives staff more options to use the vehicles. I think this isn't really new technology. Last year, I sold a hybrid that I'd had 15 years. And I've never had any problem getting it serviced anywhere. So I'm sure any place that's servicing our current vehicles would be able to service the hybrid vehicles just fine. I'm not sure, somebody said something about resale value, and I can, I suppose, respond to that by saying that in the last 5 years I had my hybrid car. I used to get these mailings from the dealership all the time trying to get me to sell them my car back so that they could have them available for resale. That used hybrids were in very high demand, apparently. People want older, cheaper, very fuel efficient cars. So I expect that having a hybrid engine as opposed to the regular gas only engine would significantly increase the resale value of these vehicles. It did for me when I had a hybrid car. So I don't know if that helps. So I would be happy if we got 1, but I'd be happier if we got 2. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Alderman Goodman. Now, Alderman Chrisell.
Thanks. Yeah, I would be in support of, getting 1, only to have something to compare with as a baseline. So if you have 1 of each, you can, compare, metrics on how many times are they in the shop, how much is the repair bill for each time it goes in, those types of things. You have 2 brand new Ford Explorer vehicles. I think that would give you a good idea of indicators of what, if the next ones we got, if they were all hybrids or if they were all internal combustion. So I'm leaning toward getting 1 at this time and seeing how they both perform against each other. Thank you.
Okay, Alderman Widener.
Yeah, Chief, do we have any Ford Explorers in the fleet at the present moment, or will both Explorers be new model additions to the fleet?
No, we currently have all Ford Explorers right now in the fleet.
Okay. And so acceleration-wise, is the hybrid match what the acceleration would be on the other Explorers?
The ones that we have a 6-cylinder engine. Speed is really not an issue today in law enforcement. We're much more cautious than I think we were decades ago, which is a good thing. We do have a tremendous amount of restriction placed upon us as far as vehicle pursuits, which I think is a good thing also. So I don't think it's the overriding factor. I think the only thing that the Wheaton lieutenant told me was that it's going to take some adaptation on the part of the operator of the vehicle, and that there is a slight hesitation when you push down the accelerator pedal on a hybrid versus an internal combustion. I can't speak to that. I never drove a hybrid. But it's a different sensation. It takes a little getting used to.
And will these vehicles be assigned to personnel, or will they be rotated amongst the different police officers?
Well, if we got 1, I would make sure that that vehicle was switched out amongst the 4 patrol teams, so that they would all have an opportunity to drive it. If we purchased 2 of them, obviously I would rotate those. One would go between 2 patrol teams, and the other one would go between the other 2 patrol teams.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alderman Widener. Now Alderman Wilson.
Yeah, I agree to getting one of them, and let's do it that one at a time. We have time to test them out, get our officers used to them. So my proposal would be to just buy one of each, one, and that's it, one of each. I won't agree to buying two of them right up front.
Okay. City Administrator Coakley has a comment.
I would just add on, I'm not sure if it was clear or not, the comment about the maintenance. Right now, we are farming everything out to private places. So we will take it to whether it's a Ford dealership or to someplace that will have a certified technician that can handle a hybrid engine or a combustion engine regardless. So that should not be a concern or an issue of anyone. We are farming everything out. We don't have a mechanic on staff, and that's actually one of the advantages. We have all kinds of expertise out there that we can utilize.
Thank you. Okay. As of right now, we have a motion on the table which has been amended. Now, what do we do?
You have an amendment to the motion.
Okay.
And Brooke will correct me if I make a mistake. So you would vote on the amendment first, which I believe the amendment was to purchase both vehicles as hybrids. And so you had that motion and seconded. So you would take the vote on that. And if that's approved, then you would have the amended motion that would need to be voted on.
Okay, so we'll take a roll call on the amendment for 2 hybrid vehicles. Alderman Davalos, I see you. Okay.
I just want to clarify. So depending on how that amendment goes, will there be another opportunity to do another amendment different from the one we voted on first before we do the final?
Once we do the amendment, as Alderman Goodman brought it forward, and we vote on it, if that does not go through, we can have an amend. I'm not sure.
I'm going to defer to the city attorney. I think I know the answer, but I'm not trained in that. So I'm going to defer to the legal expert.
Okay. Attorney
So,
Lenneman?
If we're voting on the motion to, Alderman Goodman, can you clarify what your motion was? Is it to amend the original motion?
My original motion was as written in the agenda. My original amendment to the motion was to change the type of vehicles to the standard hybrid model, yes. So I think the answer to your question is you can make as many amendments as you want and you can vote on as many amendments as you want. That's clear. So we would vote on this one first because that was the first motion made.
So I just wanted to clarify what the second motion was. That if the motion to amend the original motion fails, then there could always be another motion to amend the original motion.
Would an alderman just raise their hand and make that amendment? Or do you have to go through a list or some formal way to make another amendment?
You can just ask to be recognized by Mayor Pro Tem Barry.
Right, thank you.
Including now, we could amend amendments. Yes. I mean, anything is possible. Raise your hand and say what you want to say.
That's the other option, is that someone could just make a motion to amend the amended motion.
Okay, Alderman Davalos, you have your hand raised.
Okay, I would just like to amend the amendment because I was interested in what Alderman Krischel said about having 2 vehicles exactly the same, not older models, but exactly the same year, and actually comparing them. I'm just a big data-driven person, and I just thought maybe we should get one. So my amended motion would be to buy 1 hybrid vehicle and 1, whatever it is, gas vehicle. Or internal combustion engine vehicle.
Yes, combustion engine vehicle.
Yes.
Okay, so we have an amendment. We have, go ahead.
That motion to amend, you need a second.
Question from Alderman Wilson.
I'm sorry, what do we? A question by, okay, we need a second first.
I'll second if that helps.
Okay, Alderman Goodman has seconded. Now, Alderman Wilson has a question.
Yes. Are we voting to buy two of them? Or are we voting to buy one of them?
At the moment, we are voting to buy one of each. We have amended the amendment.
Okay, so it is one of each.
One of each
Okay.
right
All right. Thank you. That's with clarification. I vote aye.
now. Okay. We'll get right to you. Okay,
Well,
so does everyone understand what we're doing now? Okay,
Yes.
good. Yes. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Davalos,
Aye.
Alderman Berry,
Aye.
Alderman Goodman,
Aye.
Alderman Ashour,
Aye.
Alderman Anderson,
Aye.
Alderman Widener,
Aye.
Alderman Wilson,
good. That's what I thought. Aye.
Alderman Krischel.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, motion passes.
Good.
So now, Attorney Lenneman, we're all good?
Yes.
Okay, so the motion passes for one of each vehicle.
Yes.
Okay, clerk,
Sorry.
City Administrator Coakley.
Is there a requirement to vote on the original motion now?
Yes.
Is that then? Okay.
Oh,
Thank you.
So there,
okay. Go ahead, say it. Attorney Lenneman, what were you going to say?
just that now we need to vote on the amended. So that was the motion to amend the motion. And now we need to vote again on the
Amended a motion.
amended motion.
Okay. So would someone like to make the motion?
You don't need to do, just.
No. Okay, now we just need to vote on the, okay, the original motion as amended. Correct?
That's
Okay.
correct.
Mm-hmm.
So we are voting to buy one of each. Is that the bottom line?
Yep. We're still
Yes.
doing the same.
Fine. Okay. Thank you.
Clerk.
Alderman Goodman,
Aye.
Alderman Anderson,
Aye.
Alderman Widener,
Aye.
Alderman Wilson,
Aye.
Alderman Krischel,
Aye.
Alderman Berry,
Aye.
Alderman Ashour,
Aye.
Alderman Davalos.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. So motion passes. We're all good.
Chairman?
Trying to get
Chairman?
one of each vehicle. Thank you, everyone. Yes.
Chairman
Question?
Barry?
Chief
Yeah, one
Toronto?
question. Yeah, do we have to, and I'll include the attorney on this, because there were dollar amounts that were included in here, do we have to amend that dollar amount? Because there's going to be a higher dollar amount for the one vehicle.
Are you referring to the resolution that's in the packet?
That is correct.
Yes, I'll prepare a revised resolution.
Okay. Very
That
good. Thank you.
The new cost, yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's all I needed. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, hold on.
City Administrator Coakley.
I'm sorry that I was with it. I knew the answers until that last comment. Sorry. Does that mean this has to come back to another council meeting to adopted resolution? You're just going to
No.
amend the resolution according to what the
Just
action they
don't-
took?
Exactly.
Okay, this is a lot of parliamentary procedures for Warrenville. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, we're good. Finally. All right. So we're all done with the consent agenda. Now there is no regular agenda. Now we do have one item under unfinished business. Alderman Davalos, would you like to bring that forward?
Yes, more complicated procedures. As I would like to make a motion I move to rescind the referral to the Plan Commission and to take from the table the motion to accept the Plan Commission's recommendation and direct the city attorney to prepare an ordinance documenting conditional approval of the preliminary plot and PUD plans for Sundance Development at 28301 Ferry Road.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We need a roll call. Clerk, please.
Alderman Wilson,
Aye.
Is there
Alderman
discussion
Davalos?
on this?
Well, first we have to, don't we?
So,
I defer to the attorney if there's a discussion of a motion to remove from the table. I don't know.
holy
Attorney
mackerel.
Unless
Linneman?
there's unanimous, the Roberts rules, when you are removing something from the table, it's technically not a debatable motion unless, you could do it by unanimous consent, but, that would need to be determined whether everyone would allow discussion. Otherwise, just like the tabling motion, they're not a debatable motion. The underlying motion, if this motion were to pass and the original motion would be back on the, for discussion, then that motion is debatable. But the motion to remove it from the table is not.
I guess I just have a question regarding this item.
About the substance of the underlying motion or about the motion to take from the table?
About the item itself, and
So-
my understanding. Oh, go ahead.
So just procedurally, the motion to take the item, rescind the referral to the Plan Commission and take the item from the table, if that motion passes, then the item is back in front of the City Council for consideration. The vote on the motion to take from the table is not a vote on the underlying motion to direct the city attorney to prepare the ordinance. That motion can be made after, if this motion passes, and that motion is debatable. So there will be an opportunity to debate the second motion if this motion were to pass.
This first motion is to simply take it off of the table, and that's all we're voting on right now, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
This is
so and
Alderman
I
Davalos.
voted yes.
Okay, this is Alderman Davalos. I just want to say one sentence. The reason I made a motion to take it off the table was so we could get more information and have a discussion. That's it.
Okay.
Right.
All right, we do need to vote. Okay, we need, we're taking this off the table. Once we take it off the table, then we will have a discussion.
Correct. First, you have to take it off of the table in order to further discuss it.
Correct. So we have a motion and we have a second. And now we have to vote.
Yes.
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
Actually, we're in the process of voting at the moment.
Before we vote, just to Attorney Linneman, my internet was crackling while that was being proposed. What does it mean to take off the table? That's just a term I'm not familiar with.
So just to clarify, the original motion from last time was to table that, which basically puts the item to the side. The motion to take from the table is basically bringing the item back in front of the City Council for consideration. So it is basically undoing or rescinding the motion to put it on the table in the first place. So all this does is bring the item was kind of put to the side, and now this motion to take from the table is bringing the underlying motion, which is the motion to direct the city attorney to prepare the ordinance, back to the City Council for its consideration, and in theory tonight. So that's what the taking from the table means, is it's just picking it back up, basically.
And that's what the motion was?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I need. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, now we will have a vote. Clerk.
Alderman Wilson,
Aye.
Alderman Davalos,
Aye.
Alderman Berry,
Aye.
Alderman Krischel,
Aye.
Alderman Goodman,
Aye.
Alderman Anderson,
Aye.
Alderman Widener,
Aye.
Alderman Ashour.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Okay, so right now, what I'd like to do,
Well-
then I recommend the following instructions. Okay, the motion passed. I would like to now have Director Menzer, he's prepared to give a summary of the development to refresh our memories. And once he has concluded the summary, each alderman will then have the chance to comment and to ask questions. We also have the developer here too, which we will be able to ask questions of. And we also received much more information in our packet regarding this development. So Director Menzer, could you please kind of refresh what we talked about last time?
Okay, sure. Thank you, Chairman. I can certainly talk about a whole lot of details related to this project. We've spent more than a year with the developer getting to this point. There was a courtesy review, 3 Plan Commission public hearings for the project before the Plan Commission made a recommendation to the City Council that's now before you. But what I thought would be probably most important to share with the City Council is information related to the parking issue. It seemed as the conversation and discussion went on at the last City Council meeting that there was some definite concern and some questions and maybe a little bit of confusion about how the whole parking would work for this particular project. I think that confusion was exacerbated by, or that confusion and concern was exacerbated by the fact that for some reason the developer was unable to share their presentation, their graphic presentation with the City Council at the last meeting. So for the most part, the City Council was forced to listen to the developer explain how the parking would work and try to visualize how that would play out on that particular property. So in the agenda backup materials, we actually copied and included the developer's presentation. And if I can share my screen, I think that would help everybody understand exactly how the parking for this particular project would work, and it would also help staff. Let me get this up, sorry.
Ooh.
I had it up there. It would help staff explain why we or help outline why we feel the parking in this situation would be appropriate and would be more than sufficient as it's currently proposed. Can everybody see the screen there?
Yes.
The site plan. Okay. So to give you some context, the project itself. Minimize this. The project itself includes row homes, and the row homes are what's called a rear-loaded row home. So the access to the garage portion of the townhouses or row homes is behind the building off of a shared service drive network. And a main difference between this type of arrangement and front-loaded townhouses, that in front-loaded townhouses, there's typically a driveway that leads up to the garage, and the driveway has space for vehicles to park in. In this particular project, as reflected on the site plan, the space, if you can see can you see my cursor on the screen? Right here?
Mm-hmm.
No?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so in this case, the driveway space behind the buildings is like 7 to 8 feet, maybe 9 feet in depth, so it's not sufficient for a vehicle to park on. So what the developer is proposing in this project is to satisfy the parking needs of the future owners and occupants of this building by having 2 garage spaces in each unit. And then there's a series of shared parking spaces that would be scattered throughout the project. This is an example of some of the shared parking spaces. Here's another one. And again, they're scattered throughout kind of randomly through the project. Those would be for overflow parking for guests, if anybody was having guests over, or if it was more convenient for an individual property owner to say park in one of these spaces and run into their unit for whatever reason they didn't want to drive into the garage. In total, for the townhouse project, there's 135 combined parking spaces. 96 of those parking spaces are located within the garage spaces internally to the building, and then 39 of those spaces are scattered throughout the rest of the project. In order to ensure that there's not going to be a parking problem in this particular project, the developer and owner of the entire site also owns the building, which he described at the last meeting would be a co-working office space. And as part of this project, they would be eliminating a bunch of existing unused parking in this area and replacing with the townhouses. And they're proposing that 57 of the parking spaces that would both exist and be created in the larger office building, what's now the office building parking lot, would become shared parking spaces. There would be a easement, parking access easement agreement that would be developed and finalized as part of the final PUD process for this project, should it get to that point. If the final PUD plans are approved, that parking easement agreement would ensure that the future owners of the townhouses would have access to the legal right to access and use these shared parking spaces. That easement agreement would run with the land, so it wouldn't be something that could be taken away from the townhouse owners in the future. Should the owner of the office building want to do that, they would have to get the consent and approval of the townhouse owners and the city in this case, because it's a PUD. That would be documented in the PUD approvals. That easement agreement ultimately, if it was approved by the city, would be recorded against the land and would show up on all the titles for all the properties in the project. From a city staff perspective, it's our opinion that the parking issue was thoroughly vetted in front of the Plan Commission. The developer hired a professional traffic engineer to evaluate the parking situation and the shared nature of parking in this proposed project, and concluded that there's more than enough parking that would be provided to satisfy the needs of both the office building and of the future townhouse row house buildings. The city's traffic engineer, the city's consulting traffic engineer, did a independent review of that same issue and found also that there would be no parking problems created by this particular arrangement, and there would be more than sufficient number of parking spaces provided when the project was completed to satisfy the peak parking demands of both of the two elements of the project, the office element and the residential element. The evaluation is not just was not a just a professional opinion. The evaluation was based on the most current data that's provided by the Institute of Traffic Engineers in their 5th edition of their parking generation manual. This is a manual that's updated on a somewhat frequent basis, say every 5 years, where they go out and survey different types of development and actually inventory the parking demand that's being generated by that type of development. The most recent version of this parking generation manual is a much improved version than what was engineers previously used. In this version, the data is more current, obvious, so it's capturing more current parking generation and parking use trends that are occurring out in the marketplace. But it also differentiates between suburban and urban environments. Obviously, Cantera is more of a suburban environment where auto use is essential. People do have vehicles, they're not going to be taking, for the most part, public transportation to get to work or to live in these homes. So in the past versions of that manual, They didn't break it down between suburban and urban, but in the current one, they do break it down. And the figures in that manual, when you apply them to this project, suggest that even in a peak demand condition, which is estimated to be in the mid-morning of the weekdays, only 383 parking spaces would be utilized. The proposed surface parking lot alone has, once it's reconfigured, would have 425 parking spaces. Together, the parking lots for the suburban office space and the parking that would be provided both internally and in these small areas for the townhouse buildings would amount to more than 560 parking spaces. So far, far more than what all the most current and accurate data suggests would be the maximum parking demand for this project. So from that perspective, staff again is very confident that there should not be any parking issues generated by this project. And I would say that there's one final point that I'd like to make about the parking issues on this particular property, and that is that all of the surrounding property owners to this project, for that matter, all of the property owners and the Cantera Owners Association received 2 public notices about this particular project, and the public notices were clear what was being proposed in the project and that the developer was seeking significant relief from the standard parking regulations that apply in Cantera, and not one property owner in Cantera attended any of the public hearing meetings to raise any questions or concerns about parking, and we have not received any negative, we haven't received any comments, either negative or positive, from any of the property owners in Cantera about this project or about parking concerns related to it. And with that, I would just say not only is the developer on the meeting tonight, I believe the developer was going to have their traffic engineer available should there be any specific questions related to traffic circulation and or parking issues for this particular project.
Thank you. Okay, so now each alderman will have the chance to ask questions, and I will go through the list. Alderman Anderson.
Thank you. I actually have no further questions. They've been answered over the last couple of weeks through this process. Thank you.
Okay, Alderman Ashour.
I just still have a huge problem with the way the parking works. It would seem to me if that was protected parking, it would be part of that property, and it would be shared with the office space, but it would be primary to the living units, and rather than the other way around. It seems like a backward way of handling it, and I just don't like the concept.
Okay, thank you. I myself have a question for Director Menzer. There's a parking lot that appears to the west of the luxury townhomes.
This one here?
Yes.
Yep.
Are those spaces, it claims that there's, I can't read this very well, 92 parking spaces. Are those included in the parking spaces that you're talking about in this larger section here, or is that a separate number by itself?
Yeah, no, the 425 office parking spaces would be these spaces combined with this reconfigured large parking lot. So together, those are 425 spaces.
I'm sorry, they are included or not included?
Yeah, they are included in that 420.
Okay, so it's a combination of both of those parking spaces.
That's
When you
correct.
say 425.
Yes.
Okay. I personally have no problem with parking spaces. I see that there is this what they call guest parking, and there is 2 vehicles for parking spaces for each unit. Many of you obviously know I live in Emerald Green. I live in a 3-bedroom condo. I have a 1-car garage, and I have a 1-car driveway, and I have 3 bedrooms. So I'm still short a, a parking space. And that's why we have visitor parking. But we have enough so that during the day, many of those visitor parking spaces, many of those driveways are all empty. People are off at work. During the day, the people who will be working in the office building obviously will be using these parking spaces. And in the evening, those people that are working will go home, and the people in the townhomes will be utilizing the parking that you see here shown in red. I don't have a problem with that. I think it's a good use of space. We don't need to be adding more parking lots. We don't need to be taking up more ground. We need we don't want to take up more or put more concrete down. We need to have places for the water to run off so we don't have flooding and things like that. So for me, utilizing the parking spaces that way, both during the day and at night, I think is a very good idea. So that's my comment. Alderman Davalos, questions, comments?
Yes, just because we don't have anything like this in Warrenville, I just have a couple of clarifying questions. I am looking at page 6 on the community development from the Plan Commission, the CDD staff report, page 6, with that parking calculations chart. So I'm directing this to Director Menser. So am I to conclude that the 48 spaces that they are losing from the office building are incorporated into the 57 spaces that have been generated for the residential buildings, residents? Is that where that 57 part of that is 48? It's in the last column under required
Yeah,
parking.
no, I'm looking at it. There's some overlap there. They're not directly correlated.
Yeah, but just in
what that chart shows is that, and as part of the redevelopment of the existing parking lot that's out there today, that if you applied the city's standard Cantera parking regulations to what's going to be left for the office building, that if it was just a standalone office building project, that the office building would be short 48 parking spaces from meeting the code.
Okay. So our residents in this residential area can only park in those 57 spots, as Alderman Barry said, the ones in red on one of these. They can't just park anywhere in the business parking. They can park in that specific area that's been assigned. And I suppose we'll have some kind of signage or something, so they don't just park anywhere, right?
Well, I think there's what might happen in a real world practical situation and what legally somebody has a right to do. If people are going to park where they're going to park, I mean, people park where they're not supposed to park today, and they will, I'm sure that will happen here. If that becomes a problem, they could be probably towed because they wouldn't be, if they're parking outside of the area that they have a legal easement right to park in. The owner of the property that's given that easement right could enforce those easement rights if they're generating a problem. I would imagine that they wouldn't take that course of action or pursue that course of action if there was not a problem being created by that parking.
Okay. And the last question I have is kind of bizarre, but since I've not seen this sort of development, the apron area outside of the 2 garage doors for each unit, does anybody ever park horizontally there? I mean, could you do that? I don't know why you would, but I'm just saying, somebody came to visit.
I mean,
And
I think if you had a smaller car, practically you could probably do that. But if you were driving a full-size
right,
sedan or a larger pickup truck, it's unlikely that you would be able to park on that apron and get your car out of the driveway, the shared access driveway.
yeah, I would just like to thank you and even the developer for providing the visuals that we had, because I have all my questions and I had quite a few last time. And also discussions in the last 3 weeks with various people. I have all my questions answered, and I think really this whole combination on this property is just a very creative way to deal with the new world that we're dealing with, and I think these will be very attractive um, for a lot of people. And I do notice there's a deck on the top, which is kind of cool. So I think it will be a popular new residential form that we have nothing like this. So thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Goodman?
Yeah, I think I just want to second everything that temporary chairman Barry said. I think she covered it very well, and so I won't take up more time. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Krischel?
No, I have no further questions on this. Thank you.
Okay. Alderman Widener?
Yes, I understand that there's an adequate number of parking spaces. I guess my concern is that this was referred to often as an urban design, and it's in a suburban area that's not walkable. So urban designs usually fit in areas that have high walkability scores. And it just seems like all the other projects, Warrenville Lakes and the place off of Herrick Road, if you have friends over or extra vehicles or somehow fill up your 2-car garage with a motorcycle or tools or what have you, there's adequate space to be able to park out in front of your unit. And I just think that in the long run should be what Warrenville prefers as far as how these sites operate and form and function. And I think that was the concern of the Plan Commission when they had a split vote and we had someone come in and ask us to, or the chairman to come in and ask us to, please refer it back and take another look at this. I mean, I'm not a designer, but it seems like the 57 or 47 parking spaces that are shared use, that square footage could have been given up so that the apron expanded from 7 feet in length to 12 feet or something that could accommodate a full-length vehicle outside people's residence. And I just think it's a matter of, how we want Warrenville to operate and form and function. I don't think it's a question of the capacity of parking and whether there's enough. I just feel like the flow and the aesthetics and everything of this site will be affected by only having 7 feet out in front of the garage doors, when people in suburban areas need more room with that. If you drive around on a Sunday morning, you will certainly see, vehicles in Warrenville Lakes and Herrick Woods and all these other places utilizing the full apron out in front of their, or behind their residences. And I think that's the fatal flaw of this, and why the Plan Commission could take another look at it and maybe work something out. As far as the look and feel of the project, I find it's creative and appealing. I'm not sure. There were some questions, I think, brought up about the landscaping plan too. I don't know if that needs to be addressed by Plan Commission, or whether that's been approved in total and there's no problems with that. But those are my concerns, and I guess I would still like to see this reviewed, even though this project has been studied for a year. I think, sometimes the developer is delaying in their submittals, and that could have contributed to the year-long project, as well as being in a pandemic situation. So I guess I don't see the harm in having the committee that studies these kinds of things just kind of take another look at it and make sure that all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Wilson.
I think that up to this point and through everything that we've gone through, we have looked at this. We've had looked at it again and again, sent back, and the Plan Commission had an opportunity to look at all of this. I know this is a unique circumstance for Warrenville, but in my career, I actually rented facilities where I had 2 parking spots in place of my office in an environment that gave me facilities to do my own business in an office environment, and yet I had 2 parking spaces in front of it. I only used those parking spaces perhaps once a day, 3 days a week, because I was out doing my business. Those parking spaces were allowed for anybody that could park there. And I think this bringing continually this parking problem here, that during the day, those office spots may be taken up partially, but after hours, those parking spaces are going to become available for every resident in the area, and that's the key. They have to have the privilege of being using those spots and not denied from those. And I think we've looked at this enough forward and backwards, and it's been back and forth. So I think it's a very unique, good opportunity for the city of Warrenville to move one step further to the present day circumstances of business and pleasure. So I'm all for voting for this, and if I had the opportunity, I would call for a vote.
Okay, thank you. Are there any more questions? Alderman Davalos, I see your hand.
Yes, I just want to make one comment that I had a discussion in the last 3 weeks with somebody that brought up something very obvious to me, but I had not really thought about it. And that is, when we started this, many developments we've done, 4, 5, 6 now, different things. We had not a lot of diversity in our housing stock when we started, and we knew what we needed to do. With apartments, we have townhouses, we have Alden, we have a bunch of things that everybody is not going to be suited to everything. So like the 3-story at Stafford Place, the 3-story houses are not great for seniors, but the ranches are great. We have at Everton, we have the first floor, you walk right in. So if you were a senior or somebody that didn't want to do stairs, you walk right in. Other people have townhouses and second floors. We have a lot of apartments with parking in garages on the same floor or on other. We just have a variety of choices so that a lot of different kinds of people can find what they want. And what this person said to me was, you know what, they're going to know going in about no driveway parking. So if they need driveway parking, they're going to go find something else. And only the people that, don't need driveway parking, that they want a deck on their 4th floor, that they don't mind stairs, they're the people that are going to be attracted to this sort of a development. And every development doesn't have to have everything for everybody. So once I processed all that and realized, that was a founding principle of some of our development goals, it helps me realize that this development's going to be great for some people, and other people, they want a driveway, so they'll go somewhere else. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions?
Chairman, this is Ron.
Yes, Director Menser.
I just wanted to just touch on the landscape plan issue, because there is the developer's use of the word final on that landscape plan is misleading. This is the preliminary PUD process for this particular project. And in general, that landscape plan that was submitted included more details than what we generally require as part of a preliminary planning preliminary landscape plan at this stage in the development review and approval process, but because there was some questions and concerns by both staff and the Plan Commission during the public hearing process about how landscaping would play out on this project, the developer provided more detail on the landscape plan. They did identify it as a final landscape plan, but I can tell you and assure you that the landscape plan does not comply with all the standards of detail that are required in the city's zoning ordinance. So as part of the final PUD process, should this project get to that point, the developer will be required to refine and improve the landscape plan and provide additional details and correct and add the missing information, much of which the residents spoke of and pointed out. So that's part of our standard process. So that will be taken care of as part of the final PUD review and approval process if this project moves to that point.
Okay, thank you. I see the developer, they have their hand up. Would you like to make a comment?
Yes, I just wanted to make a couple comments addressing Councilman Widener and his comments regarding the parking and the parking spaces in front of the garage units. So we created these units to yes, be different and have an urban feel to them. And when I envision all of the developments that I do and any design that I've ever worked on, I try to envision what it might look like, as a finished product, and I have that in my mind's eye. So when I look at the space in between the units that back to each other, so we put the carriage garage doors back into the back of the carriage garage doors of the adjacent building, and I see that as very nice aesthetic. It's very nice and warm country feel. It looks like carriage doors on an old farmhouse. To place 96 cars in between all of these units with the windows, the large windows that we have, people looking out, the back as well as the front of the units, to see 96 cars, potentially 96 cars parked in between the units was something to me that is just displeasing to that type of community and that type of neighborhood. I wouldn't want to live there myself. And I think I have to pass that litmus test first and foremost to say, is this something where I would enjoy and appreciate to live at? And the reason I did not elect to add the additional space on the driveway was for that very reason, was because I can envision what 96 cars, and some cars, might be nicer than others, but the nice cars are probably inside the garage. To have that many cars potentially lined up in, what is in essence somebody's backyard, just to me was not cohesive to what we're trying to create there. So I think that I just wanted to explain the purpose and the reason. We're not being cheap. I mean, obviously you can see by the aesthetics of the buildings that the quality is the highest. So we're not trying to cut corners by putting a small apron driveway in. It really is the form and function of not having a driveway where you could, not just one car, not two cars, but we're talking about 96 cars potentially parked in the back of the units. So by eliminating it, I think we ended up with a better project. So I just wanted to voice that so that it's understood my position on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, anything else before we go forward? Okay, because the motion passed to rescind the referral to the Plan Commission, we now need a motion to have the recommendation, the original recommendation of the Plan Commission, we need to that motion to go forward. So, or we need a motion, period.
I would like to make a motion.
Okay, Alderman Wilson.
Accept Plan Commission recommendation and direct the city attorney to prepare an ordinance documenting conditional approval of the preliminary plat and PUD plans for Sundance Development at 28301 Ferry Road.
Second, Alderman Davalos.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Wilson and a second by Alderman Davalos. Clerk, could I have the roll call, please?
Alderman Anderson,
Aye.
Alderman Krischel,
Aye.
Alderman Davalos,
Aye.
Alderman Widener,
Nay.
Alderman Ashour,
Nay.
Alderman Wilson,
Aye.
Alderman Berry,
Aye.
Alderman Goodman.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you. We have nothing under new business and nothing under for closed session. We have one more motion that we need to adjourn, please.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second, Alderman Goodman.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, clerk.
Alderman Widener,
Aye.
Alderman Ashour,
Aye.
Alderman Anderson,
Aye.
Alderman Berry,
Aye.
Alderman Davalos,
Aye.
Alderman Krischel,
Aye.
Alderman Goodman,
Aye.
Alderman Wilson.
Aye. Thank you, Claire.
Okay, motion passes. We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman
Good job,
Berry.
Alderman Berry.
Good night. Thanks.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.